And Suresh, why do you think it's not happening in India? Why do you think patients are not part of policy making, and why do you think we have not progressed in spite of the fact that we are one of the largest in terms of our industry in the world? Why is it not happening?
Yeah, I think, Mohit, we are still evolving, because if you go to the US, there are a lot of patient groups, right, for different disease. I think hemophilia, for example, what Gopal mentioned, is one of where there is a hemophilia federation and other things. So there are patient groups around that area, around that disease. But in India, per se, it's not a payer market. And, we have been, I would put it that we are in an evolving stage. And we are yet to get there, where there are going to be patient groups which are going to address different types of disease, whether it's IVF, whether it's oncology, whether it is hemophilia. It's only a matter of time. I think the moment the Ayushman Bharat or the PMJ starts encompassing many of these diseases, and many of the treatments available for such kind of patients are part of that, and then it becomes a payer market. As we evolve into a payer market at some point in time, then you would find that there will be patient groups which will be working on advocacy to include certain types of products into such kind of programs to enable their treatment from different like the Ayushman Bharat, for example. So we have some oncology products, but not all oncology products. So if patient groups are there, actually they can work with the government, they can work with the payers to make sure that the key products which are required for their well-being are included. So that's there. So in the US, is there in many of the other markets, because that's the kind of business model.
Thanks. I would go to, this is a question which probably off topic one, but it's an interesting one. And I would go to Suresh for this. It has been asked by Sudhir and Rajat from Bangalore. They want to know more about patients being on the advisory board. And do you think that that's happening already? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think that that's not happening? What is your opinion, Suresh? And probably I can go to Samir as well, because these are things which might be very, very interesting from a long-term perspective.
Yeah, when we are doing new product planning, especially if you want to bring in a product, while we do, primary market research with doctors, we do touch base with patient groups or patients who have been treated to find out how the patient journey is, for the different products. So they are not part of an advisory board meeting per se, but that is usually held with the healthcare providers. But patients are a touch point for us when we do the research to understand the patient journey as well as the customer journey. So it's part of the new product planning process. But whenever, like different disease have different groups. So like the hemophilia has got a patient group. So if we have patient groups for a specific disease, then it's much more easier to go to them to get their advice on, how they're getting treated, where is the unmet medical need, is there a gap in their current treatment pattern. These are things which we could ask them directly as a group, because they have experience in that. But today, as part of the planning process, we do meet up with patients to understand their own journey with different types of disease, especially the chronic ones. If you're talking about ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, or you're talking about rheumatoid arthritis, you would reach out to the patients to find out the journey and what are the key areas which we could, as a pharmaceutical company, when we are launching a new product or existing product, intervene to support them in their disease management.
So Samir, do you agree to what he's saying, Suresh is saying, or do you think that there can be something more in terms of engagement with respect to patients, especially with biologics?
No, there can certainly be more. As Suresh said, yes, there is more engagement with patients now. And since you mentioned biologics, let me quickly give you an example. For the past 5 years, there's a project that we've commissioned with young artists. We choose 12 young artists each year. And we encourage those artists to go and interact with patients who have actually, been afflicted with serious autoimmune diseases and their journey of recovery. And those artists are commissioned to paint that story. So they actually give expression to the patient's feelings. And we've even held art exhibitions around that whole project. But then there can certainly be more. And just to add to what was earlier said by both Sanjeev and Sushil, and one statistic, Sanjeev, and this might be a little different, then this was also telling that about 65% of healthcare spends in the A-class markets, as we have typically called them, are done by people who travel from B and C class cities to get treated in A class cities. And that's one of the other challenges of healthcare infrastructure. They are forced to spend that money in the metros because they don't get that treatment access in the smaller cities where they reside.
Absolutely.
So if healthcare investment really were to take place, this whole classification of A, B, C would probably be redundant for marketeers.
I'll quickly go to Gopal because I have another question on early diagnosis waiting for it to be answered by Deepak. So Gopal, you had a point.
Yeah, so a short one, Mohit, just building on this. One, I think patient advisory boards are possible. Definitely in the areas where we have more patient advocacy groups, that's fine. I just wanted to make a comment that what marketeers and we need to do it together is to think beyond just medicines. When we're doing anything, we're looking more towards access towards a medicine, whether it is distributor, retailer, or anywhere. We need to work beyond medicines. It has to be comprehensive marketing plans, which talks about standards of care and treatment. That would be really suffice. Patient support program, patient services. That will really suffice and make it more sustainable and long term.